Hello everybody and welcome to episode 3 of the basic tutorial on how to get started on VATSIM. Today we're going to look at takeoff and initial climb on the SID, the Standard Instrument Departure. If you're new to the channel, make sure you click the subscribe button and join us as a frequent flyer, and you can find details of our Discord server in the description below. If this is the first one of the series you're watching and you're wanting to get started, then make sure you head back to the first episode, and if it helps, to work your way through the tutorials, the mini series that we are creating. I hope you find it useful. If you do, make sure you click that like button down below as well, and let me know how you get on in the comments too. So today we're actually at Dublin Airport. Echo India Delta Whiskey is the ICAO code, and we're going to be doing a short flight to Manchester, and we've actually gone ahead and already generated our flight plan using SimBrief, and that's gone into the MCDU. So you can see here that we've generated the Liffey 6 Alpha departure, and if we take a little look at the charts using runway 28 as the active today, we can see that we're going to take off heading west, and then we're going to make a sharp right turn back on ourselves all the way out to Liffey, which is here. Now you might notice that there's no flight level written onto this actual this SID, this line here, but the one below, the Dexon 1 Alpha, has got a hit Dexon above flight level 120. So you need to take extra care when you're checking this. So here as well, for example, above 3,000 foot for the turn on that Dexon 1 Alpha. You need to take extra care and make sure that you are following the SID as closely as possible. And if there's nothing that mentions the altitude required on the SID, as it does for this Liffey 6 Alpha, scroll down to the bottom and you tend to always find notes. So you can see here, if we look at note 7, climb to flight level 90, do not climb above flight level 90 until instructed by ATC. And then here, Liffey SID traffic with a flight level of 180 or above must be flight level 180 by Bavard, Guinness or AgPeg respectively, which is after Liffey, which is fine. And for these charts, there's lots of other information down below as well. So you can see here that lower limit there is 3,000 foot for waypoint OE. Which is going to be that turn. Now if we directly compare this against Gatwick's charts, and I've just pinged up with the ADMAX 2 X-ray departure, this one actually requires you to have a stepped climb throughout. So you'd follow the route, and you can see there, once you take off, you fly to KKW02, maximum speed of 220 knots, and above 1,500 feet. Then you turn right to KKE09, still maximum speed of 220 knots, so you have to bear all of this in mind, and you have to be above 3,200 foot by that waypoint. And then straight away, 2 miles later, you need to be below 4,000 feet, at or below 4,000 feet for KKE11, and this has got a maximum speed of 250 knots. That 4,000 foot then remains until you get towards Sunav, and you can see there Sunav has a at 5,000 foot constraint. Continuing on to ADMAG, you've got there 6,000 foot at 6,000 foot. The line above means at or below, and the line below means at or above. So you have to make sure, if you've got the sandwich, so you've got the two lines, either side of the number, that means you have to be at. So if that's the case, you would be following all of these constraints on this route, on this departure, in detail, unless you're told otherwise by air traffic control. If you took off from London Gatwick and you got to KKE09 and you are at 4,000 feet, the next one is KKE11, which is 4,000 at or below. If air traffic control tell you climb now flight level 180, then this constraint becomes irrelevant, because air traffic control have told you to climb to flight level 110 or whatever that altitude might be. So you'd read that back to them, climb now flight level 110 with your call sign, today we're easy 864, and then you would continue your climb up to that new flight level, and you'd keep going. The rest of these SID constraints become irrelevant, and you just climb up to flight level 110 or as further directed by ATC. So there's quite a few things there to bear in mind. Make sure you do follow their instructions if they give you any, and if you're not sure, always just ask them to repeat it if you're not sure. So for today's demonstration, we're going to take off on this Liffey 6 Alpha arrival to Dublin, flying off to Manchester, and we're going to follow the SID potentially, but we're going to look at things that air traffic control might tell us to do. One thing to bear in mind in the aircraft is your flex 2 temp. So you'd go ahead and you'd input all of your data into the aircraft, as we've done on previous videos and live streams, zero fuel weight and all that sort of stuff. And you'd put your flaps setting for what you're predicting, and you'd recycle the V-speeds. But you'd also want to check your performance. And for this, for a basic idea, I use this website here, wabpro.cz/A320. It's for the older versions of the A320, but a lot of people use it and it's free. And here you'd put in the airport code for Dublin, click METAR, packs on. If it's wet, you'd click wet, and then you'd put in your proper takeoff weight and your full Mach. And then once you've put those bits in with that runway that you're going to use, you'd press calculate and it'd give you the flex 2 temp, which you can see here is given us 59 degrees Celsius. And you're probably thinking, well, how do I get the real takeoff weight, or actual takeoff weight? And you could look at the fuel tab here, and the centre of gravity with all your fuel in it is your takeoff centre of gravity. That's 22.8. Just to keep it simple, and I'll just put that 56.689. If it's a short taxi, you could deduct 200 kilos off the figure to help you. So you'd put that into that website, press calculate, and it'd give you your flex 2 temp, which today is 59, as you can see has been input. So we know that we've got our flight level of 90 as our ceiling altitude for the SID, so I've put that into the altitude autopilot box there, so I know not to climb above it. So as we can see, we've made our way to the hold point for runway 28. It's also the hold point for runway 34 at Dublin, but depending on what airport you're at, you might have different hold points. Just follow whatever directed by whatever you're directed to by ATC. Now we're on Unicom at Dublin currently, so all I'd need to do is see if anybody's on final approach and just announce my departure. So in this instance, we could just say on Unicom, Dublin traffic, easy 864, departing runway 28 left on a Liffey 6 Alpha departure. And that tells everybody that we're taking off on the runway now, and we're also departing on a specific runway. If an aircraft was landing, we could, after they've touched down, we could announce Dublin traffic, easy 864, lining up and waiting runway 28 left. And that would tell that other aircraft that we're going to wait for them to leave the runway, as we should do, and they'll announce when they're clear so that we can then announce our departure. If this was tower, we would call up easy 864, holding at whatever hold point we're at, ready for departure. Now if Dublin Tower was online and we've called up that we're at the hold point ready for departure, they might tell us a number of different things. So they might tell us that we're clear to take off, in which case it will be something along the lines of easy 864, wind 230 at 5 knots, runway 28 left, clear for takeoff. And we would just read back, clear for takeoff, easy 864, or clear for takeoff, runway 28 left, easy 864. And away we go. It'd be park and brake off, strobes, landing lights, everything on, and we'd line up and go. Something else that we might be told to do, and it's an important one, we might be asked if we can manage an immediate takeoff, and that means that we don't stop on the runway. The minute we're given that immediate takeoff clearance, it's because of spacing issues and we need to hurry up and go. So in that case it'd be, if we can do it, it would be A firm, and then they would say easy 864, wind 230 at 5 knots, runway 28 left, cleared immediate takeoff. And we would read that back as cleared immediate takeoff, easy 864. And it'd be strobe lights on, landing lights, everything on, park brake off, and we would line up on the runway. And instead of stopping on managing thrust and all these other bits, we would keep rolling. And the minute we're lined up, we would be applying our power and going. Otherwise, we could force an aircraft to have to go around behind us, and it causes a lot of issues. So if you're ever given an immediate takeoff clearance, then it means exactly that. It means take off immediately. So no waiting around or stopping or hesitation. If you're not able to do an immediate takeoff, then just say you're unable, and that's fine. The controllers will tell you to hold position. If there's an aircraft on finals, tower might tell us after the landing, Aer Lingus A320, runway 28 left, line up and wait behind. Could be something along the lines of that, and it would mean that after the aircraft that's landing has touched down on the runway, or gone past us at least, then we can line up on the runway and prepare for our departure. So we would taxi up to that threshold for a 28 left, and we would just stop, apply the parking brake, and just wait, because all we've been done there is been cleared to line up and wait on the threshold of the runway. If we're told just simply easy 864, line up and wait, runway 28 left, then we'd read that back as line up and wait, runway 28 left, easy 864. Again, we just read everything back as we're told. We also have to read certain things back to make sure that the tower controllers know that we have understood what they're telling us to do. And in that case, it would be just line up and wait, easy 864. And again, all that is we just taxi to that threshold, stop, park, brake on. Dublin traffic, easy 864, departing runway 28 left on a Liffey 6 Alpha departure. So we've been given our takeoff clearance by the tower, and we need to put nose to takeoff, landing lights on, strobe lights on, and obviously we've done all of our all call, and our takeoff checklist looks good. If this was an immediate takeoff, we would keep rolling, and we would just line up. Once we're lined up nicely with the runway, we'd be applying takeoff thrust. But in any case, we've been told that we're just cleared to takeoff, or as we have done today, just announced on Unicom that we are departing runway 28 left. So we can just do it without rushing. Every aircraft's different, but naturally, depending on weight and things as well, performance might be different. In the A320, you want to make sure that sticks forward. So if we look at that primary flight display, we can see the crosshairs moving down. We want that about that position until we're 80 to 100 knots, and then we neutral the stick. So initial bit of power, and then we go to takeoff flex. If we're on a short runway, we would use toga. Ignore all the clicking there. I've got a oversensitive throttle. So now we're at 80 knots, we can reduce the load on the nose wheel, bring the stick to neutral. Coming up to V1. V1 now, rotate. And it's a nice slow rotation. Take into account the wind, any crosswinds. Positive rate gear up. Once we get to that S, that means we can retract flaps and clean the airframe up. And we can see there, once we're over a certain altitude, we get lever climb. And that means we need to bring that climb thrust, throttle down into the climb gate there. If we're happy with stable, we can go ahead and just turn the autopilot on, but with the sim as it is currently, we might get some erroneous behaviour as we are getting currently with the nose dropping and things. And we know we've got a speed restriction on the SID, so we need to make sure that we have got that taken into account of. Past the S, so we go flaps to 0. And with flaps being cleaned, we can go ahead and disarm that ground spoiler as well. If there's a speed restriction on the SID, we would just set speed 220. If somebody like London Control was giving us our takeoff clearance at Gatwick, or any other airport for that matter, it's good practice to announce that you're airborne. So once you get to about 1,000 feet, announce Easy 864 airborne passing 1,000. And that's because the London controller, or whoever else, is managing a massive area with multiple airports. So by saying that you're airborne, they know that they can get in the next aircraft behind you and other bits. So, but you don't need to do that if you're with tower. At this point, they would have told you to change to another frequency, no doubt. So we might be on Dublin radar or something like that. And we're flying to this SID departure now. So we've got that speed restriction, and we've got that altitude constraint of 9,000 input. And we will just keep doing that until we're told otherwise. Now, if we're told by an area controller to climb, we might be told Easy 864, climb now, flight level 190. In which case, we read it back, climb now, flight level 190, Easy 864, and we pop that wheel, the altitude up to our next altitude that we're cleared to, and set it. If we're told free speed by the tower, or by the controller, if they say Easy 864, no speed restrictions, or Easy 864, free speed, then that means that we can get rid of that speed constraint, and we can just go ahead and click manage speed mode. So there's a few other things there to bear in mind. Now, we might be told on this SID, on this standard instrument departure, instead of flying our current heading and we're flying along that line, we might be told Easy 864, turn right, heading 120. If we're told to do that, then we have to do that. So, aviate, navigate, communicate, fly the airplane, get it set, and as you're clicking it, turn right, 120, Easy 864. If we've done that and we're flying on a vector, as we are now, as we're replicating now, then we might now be told Easy 864, resume own navigation, direct Liffey, or whatever another waypoint might be. In which case, we can go ahead and read back, resume own navigation, direct Liffey, Easy 864. So we could go direct to Liffey, direct, and the aircraft would create a new route direct to that next waypoint that we've been cleared to. If we haven't been given a direct to, and it's just resume own navigation, then we would just click back onto that heading, managed heading mode, and let the aircraft sort itself out. We might be given multiple vectors, so we might find that during the flight we might not even be on that track line. But if the tower controller is telling us a certain thing, then we need to make sure we're following their instructions. Obviously look at your transition altitudes, and especially now in the mod, once you hit that transition point and you get that flashing QNH, get yourself on standard. If you're given a flight level by the controller, then you can go ahead and just click standard there, and remember, once you go past 10,000 feet, turn the landing lights off. I hope you found it useful. Another short one, certainly shorter than the last two, but a lot more detail in it in a way. And if you have any questions, as always, just ask on the comments or find us on the Discord server and ask away there. There's quite a nice little community on there with everybody helping answer questions with each other. If you're new to the channel, make sure you do click that subscribe button, and if you've enjoyed the video and found it helpful, then please click the like button down below as well. Thank you all for watching, and see you all soon for another live stream.